You are listening to episode 62 of the Peaceful Mind Podcast. Welcome to the Peaceful Mind Podcast, a place for creating the peace of mind you need to be the best mom you are created by God to be. If you want to bring more balance, more joy, and more peace to your motherhood, this is the place for you. I'm your host, certified life coach and Catholic mom, Danielle Tino. In the name of the Father, of the Son, and of the Holy Spirit, let's get started. Today we are going to shift the blame. That's right. It might not be one of those fun episodes like learning to have more fun in our life. This one is a little bit more of a subject that you might resist and want to avoid or have a little reaction to. But this is what I want to offer you today. If you can move towards shifting out of victim mentality, out of blaming all of the outside circumstances that are happening in your life, or especially with most people, I find that it is blaming other people. If we can shift either slightly or dramatically and anywhere in between, it will be a good thing for you, my friend. I promise. So I hope you open yourself up to today's episode and just do a little bit of a conscious check. See where you might be blaming others, blaming outside circumstances, and notice how it is keeping you small and stuck and spinning in a cycle of blame. And that often includes shame. And I want you to be free. I want you to move towards acceptance and freedom and peace. It is always my mission here on the Peaceful Mind Podcast to help you moms move closer to peace. And it's acceptable. And one of the big steps we must do is we must accept our role in things, accept our responsibility, see where perhaps there are parts that are our fault in it. And I don't mean fault in then layer on judgment and shame, but fault in that, again, your responsibility in it. And what might birth from a mentality where you are always seeing what you can do to change the situation, what you can do to feel better, what you can think in order to take yourself out from feeling over and over again disappointment or shame or feeling judged or blamed yourself. And it's just shifting where you are placing the blame. And that word blame, it's also always usually comes when you are trying to control things that are not in your control. And I want to show you how if you no longer blame those outside circumstances, you're no longer a victim to them, you get to be empowered. You get to take control back of what it is that you can change. So let's dive into what we can change. And I have 3 tools, 3 coaching concepts that I want you to come back to when you find yourself in victim mentality, or when you find yourself feeling like a victim, or that you are blaming somebody else and you want them to change so you'll feel better. These 3 coaching tools are what can help you get to acceptance and freedom and peace. Let's first remind ourselves of why you might want to start shifting the blame. And the reason is because I want you to be empowered. I want you to empower yourself so that you can create experiences for yourself that you choose to, rather than continuously live with the experiences that you're disempowered brain mentality is having you create for yourself, perhaps at this moment. You will just feel the opposite. You will feel powerless when you are trying to put the way you feel and what you're doing and acting in somebody else's hands. You just kind of give away your power to the outside circumstance. We can give our power away to the weather, which is something that we can't control, right? When we wish that it was different than it is, or if a terrible storm comes and we want to be able to not have a storm inside of us. We want to come from a calm place, and from that place we can find our power to see what we can then do about it. I want you to first think of something that's going on in your life right now where you feel in victim mode, where you are a victim to. Just kind of take a minute here and scan your life and think, what person do you wish was different or would change? Is that your spouse? Is that your kids? Is that your boss? Is there something in general out in the world that you think if they would be different, or if they would do X, Y, and Z instead of what they're doing now, then your life would be better? Just take a moment and figure out, what is it that is so frustrating to you that you believe that the way your feelings are, that you would feel better, or you would feel better if only this wasn't happening. You would feel better if only this person would do what you think they should be doing. Okay, you got it? If not, then it'll come up as you're going along, or if something does have you into the blaming mode and victimhood mode, then you can come back to this episode and re-listen and apply these 3 tools. Okay, so once you have that in your mind, I want you to think about this first tool. And the tool is called telling the whole truth. I want you to ask yourself, what is really the truth here? Not so much what is going on with the other person, because we can't know what their truth is. What matters is, what was my role in it? What was I thinking and feeling and doing that may have caused my own part in the situation, whatever it is that you are dealing with? And so an example for me is, I remember a few years ago, between neighbors, I was really kind of seeing how the relationship had a rift in it. And I did a lot of blaming, that they should have talked to me. They should have told us what was going on. They shouldn't have done this and this and this. And, even once they moved away, I was still found myself thinking about them a lot and blaming them. I was. And when I really scanned all of the situations, all of the interactions that we had, what kind of led up to how I showed up around them, I really saw that when I told myself the whole truth, I saw where I added flames to the fire, where I showed up in an unkind way, where I said words or made assumptions that was probably perceived in a, maybe hurtful or sad way. And so that was just one example that I can give to you without even going into like tremendous detail, where there was a lot of letting go and a lot of freedom when I saw that it wasn't just all them. When I saw my part in it, it really made sense. And it brought me to this place of, okay, now what do I want to do about that? How do I want to show up now in that situation or for myself? What do I want to choose to think about it all now that I know that, I was a big part of it. And the fact that all of my discontent and disappointment and sadness that came around that rift in the relationship, yeah, it wasn't anything they did or said that caused me to have those feelings, because I know that only I can create the feeling of disappointment and sadness in myself by what I was choosing to think about the situation. So when you find yourself in blame and wishing that somebody else outside of you didn't, show up and do what they did or said what they said, where could you stop and start telling yourself the whole truth? What's your part in it? Okay, the second tool that helps us shift the blame, and the reason why we're shifting the blame is because when we're in blame and victim mode, we are giving away all of our power. And so we are shifting the blame, or wanting to shift the blame, so we can be empowered, not disempowered. Because when we're empowered, then we can fuel our actions to actually make a positive difference in our life. So the second tool is to look and see, what do you have control of versus accountability. So I'm not saying that we want to just let that person or that situation totally go without holding it accountable, right? So even if we're like, let's just pick our children, for example. You may find yourself in situations with your children that you feel like that you wish that they would act in a different way, and so you blame them for how you feel. For instance, if they would just listen to me and do what I say, or do their chores the first time, then I wouldn't have to feel so upset and then, act the way that I do. But sometimes we are in positions where we want or need to hold people accountable. In this case, our children, which is totally fine. But I need you to know that that is different than trying to control someone. And when we are blaming somebody, we are essentially trying to control them and have them want to act a certain way, or a way we want them to. And then there is that difference. It's very simple and profound. And if we don't see that difference between holding them accountable and trying to control them, this is where we'll find ourselves either being in the victimhood mentality, trying to control them, and we totally disempower ourselves. And when we try to control people, this is fueled by negative emotion. It comes from the brain when we're believing that their behavior, which is the circumstance, what's outside of you, is responsible for our emotions, our feelings. So if you have a child who misbehaves and you're mad about it, I want to move you out of trying to control them so that you don't have to be mad. So the problem is that you need to know that you're creating your own anger with your thoughts in the first place. And in trying to control them, it's actually less reliable to solve the problem, because you're in this blame place of believing that it's what they're doing that's causing your anger. Now, holding people accountable, on the other hand, that's fine, and it does move you out of blame because it's fueled by positive emotion. As a parent, it comes from you managing your own thoughts when your children don't deliver or behave something in a way that you want them to. And so choosing to hold them accountable is really coming also from this place of compassion, of love, and commitment to helping and doing your job as a parent. But the difference is it just doesn't have to come from that negative emotion. And we are mostly in that negative emotion. Well, you definitely are when you are coming from the control place, from the blaming them. And you could actually feel peaceful the entire time you were holding somebody accountable. But if you don't feel peace, then you are most likely in the control, the blame way of trying to control the outside circumstances and blaming somebody else for how you feel. We want to remember that we are the creator of it all with our thoughts. So we don't want to start to try to take control of others. We want to be in that place of freedom, peace, and empowerment, which comes from taking accountability of our role in the situation and what we have true control over, which is our own thoughts and feelings, and then the actions that come from those thoughts and feelings. The third and final concept that I want to offer you to help you move out of victim mentality in your life and to shift from blame to self-accountability and responsibility is something that we call dropping the tug-of-war rope. So in the game, the tug-of-war, you can just visualize where it is really a power struggle of trying to have a group pull on the rope this way, one way, and then another the other way, and whoever pulls the hardest wins. And so if we are talking about yourself in a situation where you are really finding that you are tugging really hard to be right, that you want to prove to someone else that their way is not the right way, that they're wrong, that they should do what you want to do, or just really trying to fight holding on to that rope of them seeing it your way. Even if you're just desperate to hear those words that, oh, I'm sorry, you're right, I want to offer that that may never come and that you deserve to have your peace and to have your power back. And sometimes it means just dropping the rope. And another way to look at this is maybe you say, okay, you're right. You don't even necessarily have to tell yourself you're wrong, like that the other person is right, but you could just know in your heart and decide that you're in the right. But imagine how you can free yourself by thinking that, okay, they're right too. Just drop the rope, and not that you want to take any of the thoughts away from yourself that you were in the wrong. I just want you to think more thoughts that bring you to a place of acceptance and peace. So it's totally fine for you to believe whatever you're believing. And just know that you want to love that other person as much as even if they didn't, quote, wrong you. And you're allowed to feel however you want. So if you want to process through being disappointed in them or being frustrated in them or being angry with them, that's totally fine. But we want to process it and not hold on to it. And when we blame and hold on to that rope, we're only hurting ourselves. So we want to drop it. We want to see that it's not serving us in any way to keep the back and forth tug of war on the rope going anymore. So if you are tired of just feeling like you are the victim of your circumstances and are ready to take back your power, to be empowered, to move your life forward and not have to keep spinning in these thoughts and terrible feelings of blame, then I invite you to try telling yourself the whole truth, where you see your role in it, letting go of control and step in to accountability, and to place the tug-of-war rope down. I want you to step in to this vibrant, peaceful, enjoyable life that is waiting for you. but that you don't have access to create for yourself if your mind and your heart are focused in a place of blame. So if you want help to go deeper into specific circumstances of your life, and you are ready to have help and support to shift out of blame, it does take work on your mindset. It needs a shift first in your mind, and then that directly affects your heart, how you feel. And this is what I am an expert in and can help you with. I promise that the freedom and peace you are wanting in your life will dramatically improve when you shift from blame into your personal power. And I'd be honored to go with you on the journey to do so. If you want to find out more, sign up for a discovery call with me at danielleteenel.com. And also, there is a direct calendar link that is always every week in the podcast on the show notes. And let's talk about it. I am so just grateful that you all come to listen to the Peaceful Mind podcast. And I will be here again next week to offer you more. Have a great and wonderful week, everyone, and I will see you then. Thank you for tuning in to today's episode of the Peaceful Mind podcast. Are you ready to take everything I teach you here and put it to work for your own life? To really learn how to have peace of mind no matter what is happening around you? If so, I'd love to have you as a client. As your coach, this is where you'll get personal and focused time on your own mind using life coaching tools, concepts, and proven life-transforming wisdom, all through a faith-filled lens. To learn more about how we can work together, come on over to danielleteenel.com. There, you'll see how to sign up for a free coaching consult and learn how to get started. Until next time, peace be with you always.